everyone, and welcome to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. My name is Robin Duke, and I'm with Janette Blissett. Hi, Janette.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. Today, we're going to talk about a really interesting topic. Janette and I have been throwing around this conversation about how we age gracefully in menopause, how we have partners and what they're going through, and how we interrelate with them. Because a lot of our partners are the same age as we are, and they are going through different changes, menopause, we call it. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like in a relationship. This audience that we're talking to is women with partners and how we interact with that. How do we work on that relationship and discovering both sides of the story and see that they are going through their own menopause.
And for women who are not connected to a partner, this might be a prelude to actually selecting a partner who has knowledge of or can develop an understanding of where you're at. This conversation is probably for all women, partnered or not partnered, but especially those who are facing the impacts of menopause as it relates to intimacy in their relationships. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's jump in. I see a lot of comments in our Facebook group of women saying that their partners don't understand their libido or they're expecting to have sex. They don't understand why we don't just turn on like a microwave. As we go into our menopause roller coaster, that is one of the symptoms we experience, low libido. Our partners don't always understand it. First of all, understanding that is happening to us. And that, yes, there are a lot of different things we can do to increase our testosterone and estrogen. And these are things that you would talk to your doctor about. But just to know that there are a lot of different ways that you can manage your libido and having an intimate sexual relationship.
What comes to mind when you say that is an understanding that's a bit of an outcome of being at this stage in our lives. That libido, as a result of the lowering of hormones, sometimes impacts or can impact how you feel towards your partner. We have to be aware of that and not take it as personally as some may think. I know partners might think, you're not into me anymore. And it's not a question of whether or not you're still in love or love them. It's something chemically happening in your body that makes you feel a certain way or not a certain way. The outcome of understanding that is you can develop other ways of feeling more amorous towards your partners. I talked to my doctor about this. She's giving me all of the spin on what I'm going through and why. She said, I'm going to have my assistant send you a printout of the things that you can buy. And one of the things that was on the list, Robin, was a personal vibrator.
That is something that most women have in their drawers right next to their
And
bed.
it wasn't just one model. It was several. And I got the biggest kick out of that. So I took that to my partner and said, guess what? What my doctor said. Look at all these things that I can get.
Yes, I actually brought my partner into a store that sold toys and lubricants. And we toured the store and bought a couple things to try out. I thought that was really great because it took the pressure off of us having these expectations of that we had to be perfect in bed, which we're not, or it opened up conversations and communications and a lightness around it because both of our bodies are changing. We are not who we are, and we don't look like we did in our 20s. Being able to accept that and look at each other with love and understanding
That
and
part.
yeah, and have a little playfulness in it and bring back that intimacy. I think we were talking about intimacy in a different way and how it's different today than it was for us back then. It has a whole new meaning.
It has a whole new meaning. And to me, it's just another dimension of our capabilities as humans and as women, if you will, to elevate and discover new ways of being intimate. The ways that we had become familiar with when we were in our 20s and 30s and 40s, those were beautiful times and thoroughly enjoyed them. However, there's so many layers of intimacy that are yet to be discovered in touch, in communication, in massage, in playfulness. It's just so rich. And that's one of the things that I am feeling very grateful for the realization that I've somewhat graduated into this other elevated state of expanding what intimacy looks like. And so I embrace it as a faction of living and going through this journey of menopause at this time in my life.
Absolutely. I think also what that intimacy does is it allows that open communication so that men can actually share what they're going through and they don't have to hide it like big boys don't cry kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because they're going through not only their physical lack of everything working down there, but they're also going through their own emotional changes. Maybe they don't even really realize that because, for instance, menopause wasn't even talked about very well or very much even 10 years ago. And it was still basically in the closet. You just didn't talk about it, or your doctor didn't know enough about it. And now we talk about it all the time. I think men, it's the same thing for them. It needs to come out and be talked about that men are, their hormones are changing, and it's okay for them to talk about it and to find solutions. I'm not that virile muscle man, but there are things that they can do to help where they're at, just like
Yeah.
we in menopause, we're discovering like a lot of different things that help us through our journey. For men, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's a two-sided conversation, and it really needs to be because, as you mentioned, menopause, which we've coined that for the men out there, they have the same type of hormonal changes in their bodies. They have declining testosterone. They're concerned about their actual sexual health. Their energy levels are different. They're exposed to other diseases like heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, and things of that nature. And all of those things impact intimacy. So it's not just us and them thinking she's not into me. I don't know why I'm struggling with this and that, but even have some self-awareness that, hey, you look down and you got condominium on top of the stomach. That's a reality. And that's a result of not having the amount of hormones that help you to build muscle. And now instead it's collecting fat on your body. So now you're looking different. Things are maybe not as firm as they used to be. And men are looking different, and they have to accept that as well. They're losing some of their muscle, and now a lot of it is being put on by fat layers. So we all are going through our changes. So we're in this journey together, and that's the beauty in this thing. As self-care partners, we can combat that by being aware and understanding of where we are in our lives right now, embrace it for what it is. But for women, we're having conversations now. Let's shift a little bit, Robin. And you opened up by saying that there is some angst around this topic. There's a lot on the Facebook page with women who are concerned about what's going on in their bodies. So let's land on that for a moment and share some personal perspectives on that.
Yes, I think part of it is, once again, we go back to choosing to have a way of looking at ourselves with some grace and love and understanding that, okay, today we are having hot flashes, we're moody, we're eating our carbs, we're grumpy, our hair's falling out, turning gray, our body is got that extra weight around it. Mentally, we're just beating ourselves up. And how do we turn that around? Sometimes it's one day at a time, one moment at a time, turning around our self-talk, doing something positive, shifting the energy, getting out of bed, number one, putting some clothes on, getting outside and taking a walk can really do a lot to turn our mood around and help us to see ourselves in a different light. And yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do, not only for ourselves, but even medically or physically. And we have to take advantage of all those different things. But you have to start with giving yourself some love and grace through this. Each day, what is it that I need to do? Sometimes it's getting out there and getting that exercise. Sometimes it's talking to somebody that you feel safe talking to. Sometimes it's just giving a hug from your partner and letting them say it's okay. Other times it can be your energy level. It can be making changes in your diet. It can be going and seeing your doctor and getting connected with some HRTs. So every day you have a choice to say, what do I need?
I like that every day you have a choice. From a personal perspective, I try to be mindful in those moments, especially with the hot flashes. I've learned to not really control it, but have a certain mindset about it and let it flow through me before I know it, it's over. And I just move move on. I don't make that the center of my day. Being mindful, even in the mornings, getting up and having an intention of what I want the day to be and what I want the day to look like and what I'd like to be involved in. That's the beginning of my day, with the realization that I'm in this place in my life, but it's part of my journey, and I've embraced the journey. It integrates into the life that I have as just my reality for being alive right now. These are some of the things that I'm going through as a woman. So I'm much more mindful. Right now, I'm filled with this hot sensation, and it's rising right now. I just embrace it for what it is in the moment. I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to have this experience. And to your point, leaning into it and accepting it for what it is. And then for anything that's ailing me, to seek out, as you say, healthcare professionals that can help me through those times when I'm feeling a bit stuck or concerned. I think most of us would embrace that if it was an intention.
Yes, intentions are really important, especially this time. I also believe that we have to put a little bit of humor into our life and laugh a lot more and laugh at ourselves. Some of the stuff we just can't control. Our bodies are going to do that. But instead of getting mad at our bodies for the change, we need to like, okay, give ourselves a lot of love and grace and realize, you know what? You're not alone. We are not alone. That there are so many women that are going through this journey. Whenever you feel like getting down on yourself, just remember, reach out, get on that Facebook page and in Facebook group, and you'll stop worrying about yourself and start laughing because there's a lot of really interesting situations that women talk about. I just really want to say it's a choice. It's a shift in the way that we think. It does start there. One of the things that I do, no matter how the day ends up, is first thing in the morning, I say my prayers, my gratitude, and my intention for the day and give myself some purpose. And it does help a lot as I'm going through my day. It keeps me in a different mindset of being mindful about my body and what it needs and what it's telling me. If you listen within, your body will tell you what it needs. It's called tuning in to your center. I hope that helps women to have a little grace and love and compassion for themselves as they go through their.
For sure. I totally agree with that. And as we make that connection between the emotional connection and the physical intimacy, just be real with yourself. Things have changed. And maybe if you're craving a deeper emotional connection rather than a physical closeness, that's a reality. And communicating that and expressing non-sexual forms of affection that are important to you, it's really based in the art of communication with your partner or whoever you're involved in.
Yes, and circling back to having that honest conversation with your partner and helping them to understand what you're going through and how they can support you through your journey, doing it in an honest, good conversation, because they may not understand why you're having hot flashes or why you're moody or all these different things. But once they start understanding, they'll get it. If you tell them, I'm going through a hot flash. This is what I need you to do. Okay. That kind of conversation is real because then that gives them something tangible to go, okay, she's having a hot flash. I'm just going to maybe get her a cold glass of water, or I'm getting her a fan, or I'm just stepping back and letting her have her moment. And then they don't feel like they're helpless, like they have to fix you. There's no fixing that,
That I just
that's
asked my
part of
partner, do not call my name into a hot flash.
it.
Jeanette, can you do this, Jeanette? No, don't call my name. Just give me those 2.5 minutes or whatever it is. Just give me that moment.
It is, but that's part of the conversation that we have with our partners is to tell them how we want to be treated. When we need our time, when we need that hug, when we need to have these conversations, usually it's what we're doing or our finances. There's always a time and a place for things. So when you address that with them, then they know what to do and they feel a lot more able to support you in the way that you need it. It helps a lot.
No doubt, in the event that you do have a partner who is not understanding, might be an indicative of another underlying issue that you might need to address at some point. Because it's not only the menopause, but the menopause as well. So on the flip side, if you have a man going through his reality, if you will, and you're not understanding what it is and don't want to accept it, it would be the same thing as a man saying, I don't care about your hot flashes, get yourself together. You're gaining weight, lose that weight, that type of thing. So if that be the case, then there probably is other underlying issues that might need to get addressed.
Yes, and that comes under lifestyle changes. overall, working together as best as you can to build that communication, to build that desire, to find ways to build your intimacy. And that circles back to this time in our life that we get to have a different way of having intimacy with our partners. Some might be new, some you've been together for many years. And so you build up that trust experience and you build up that compassion and love for each other. You have that compassion for each other. You can laugh, you can enjoy, you can share where you're at, and you can open up that communication to say, hey, I've got it here too. So do you. So let's do something about it together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the together part because it really does bring the fun into it. It just is it's a better energy. It's a better, to me, a better vibration to have in your life when you are faced with life's reality, but you have a partner or someone who understands on the other side. And you can even laugh about some of it and have some humor about it. This is what it's like, whatever the case may be. I'm just grateful to be on this journey and still here to talk about it.
I want to share an experience I just had recently. We took an RV trip for 4 nights, which is great, the two of us, and we have two dogs. By the time we got to the end of the trip, I was at a place where I needed some space. I needed some time. The RV started getting really small. So when I got home, I sat down with him. I said, babe, I love you, but I need some me time. And he said, yeah, I get it. Fortunately, we have a second home. And he was able to take off. That was hard because we do everything together. But sometimes I needed downtime away from him. He took off for about 4 days. And at the end, we were like, I miss you. I can't wait to have you come back. It was good. But had I not understood and expressed that to him, we would have been fighting,
Yeah.
hurrying, and just picking each other apart. Understanding where your boundaries are and what your needs are really
Yeah,
important.
it's make me laugh because that whole you're getting on each other's nerves to some extent, and it's time for, as they would say, separate the two. So you have your own space. We also have two homes. A lot of my friends say, "How is it being in a long distance relationship?" I said, "Fantastic."
Yes, I got the whole bed to myself. I had the whole house. I could eat what I wanted and watch on TV what I wanted. It was really nice. It was self-care for me. And I think we as women, we need to recognize where our self-care is and what that looks like.
We need to fill
Oh,
our cup because we're always dipping out of our cup and giving it away to someone else. And sometimes the cup gets a little low. We have to take care of ourselves in a way that fills it back up, even if it's just having a day where you get to do whatever you want to do on that day. If you want to walk the dog, go for a walk, take a swim, get a massage. I had a wonderful massage on that same day, and I just felt like I was filling my cup.
yeah.
And
And if I can communicate one thing to our listeners out there, is the importance of taking care of yourself and finding those things that give you joy in your life and knowing when to put them into your life. It's so important because that Jeanette said, we got to fill up our cups, fill up our loving cup so
yeah,
that we're able to give back to our partner.
that
Yes.
part right there.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to give as much as possible. But when it's on E, it's difficult. And maybe that's when the mood swings kick in. Brain fog is there. When I'm snappy and short with my responses, it's okay, girlfriend, you're hitting just about E. It's time to take a step back.
Yes, that's so true. When we're circling back to our intimacy level and how we communicate with our partner, those are really important conversations to have with them. And hopefully, they're willing to hear and open up. I know with my partner, if there's something really important, I'll sit down and say, look at me. Focus on what I'm saying. Let's have a conversation. And then he knows I'm serious about what I'm saying. It's a shift. He goes, okay, this is important. She wants me to know this.
No doubt we can't make an assumption that our partners already know this information. Many times women are mysteries to men in certain ways. And I believe that the man who is curious about his partner will be open to everything about what's behind the curtain because we seem to be mysteries to them and how our bodies work and how our minds work. I'll break it down. Here are the things. It's not difficult. Luckily, I have a partner who's curious. That curiosity keeps him open. He has an open mindset because he's learning something not only about me. Hopefully, he's just focused on me and not just about women in general, but he's got 3 sisters, understanding that all of his sisters are going through the same thing I'm going through. gives him a level of understanding because he did take the time to listen. And he can educate other men and help them understand so they can pay it forward.
That's a very good point, too. Men need men common sense, so to speak. They need to get together and have these conversations among men to let them know that they're not the only ones going through what they're going through. As women talk among ourselves, I think men need to have other men around them to support them with what they're going through.
I think that they do have some conversations. I have some friends whose husbands gather around and talk about their stuff a little bit, especially about the little blue pill and why they might need to take it. I was very surprised by that conversation and I thought, oh, so they do talk. What's interesting, when men are faced with prostate cancer, sometimes it's hush, but now more men talk about it amongst themselves and give each other these prods if they have not taken care of their self-care, if they notice something that might be happening, like frequency of going to the men's room, that type of thing. And they're starting to talk to each other. So hopefully the conversations will continue to expand and be more inclusive.
Yeah, that circles back to encouraging our partners to have conversations, not only with us, but with other peers or doctors. They're not alone. There are men going through the same thing, and how they're being supported is important. It's circular. Women go through it, men go through it, and we go through it all together. The biggest thing is just trying to be open, be curious, and have compassion for each other and listening. Put that judgment away and put it in the closet. We don't need judgment.
Stay out of the judgment zone, understanding and compassion for each other, and even amongst women, because every now and then we can be snappy with each other.
Yes, we can. And we can get that big judgment stick out, and it gets really ugly when we go down that road. So realize when you're hitting that, step away or scroll on by. But I think it's self-awareness. Don't go there. So anyway, this has been an interesting conversation. I have just so enjoyed it. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
I would say we covered broad base of topics. It has been an organic conversation and very inclusive of our partners and men. So I hope that it's appreciated. The thought really is just building on what you said, having compassion, empathy, and understanding, and building on the art of communication between partners and others so they can understand, even children who are experiencing menopause through their parents, depending on where you are in the age spectrum, understanding. But one thing I did want to say, though, about this is that as a young woman, even though there are 5 girls in my family, my mother raised us by herself primarily, we never talked about it. One of my older sisters was the first one who actually mentioned perimenopause to me. I had no clue. So the topic about menopause and what it represents in our lives, I think is an important conversation to have as young women are becoming of age, because I think that it would bring a better understanding of themselves and what they have to look forward to.
Yes, many years ago, like 70s and 80s, I can remember this was never a topic. My mom never really talked about it very much, but then the conversation did start evolving. And I've talked to a lot of other women that said they barely told us that we were having a period, let alone what to do about that and why it was happening. So I think the conversation has definitely come a long way to today, where we are a lot more open in talking about it with our young women. But also the second thing that I want to say is that there's so much really good information about how to take care of ourselves in our 20s and our 30s, so that when we're hitting menopause, it's not so severe. We can now actually bring those menopause symptoms way down by taking care of ourselves now. And there's a lot of really good information out there that supports that. So I would encourage, have those conversations, help your daughters or young ladies to understand how to take care of themselves. So in their later years, in their menopause years, it won't be so bad. They'll have answers. It won't be a mystery.
Exactly. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you, Robin, and it's a little different than, not really different than what we planned, but we normally would have a guest. I'm very grateful to have had this one-on-one conversation with you that we can share with the other members.
Yes, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for opening up and doing that kind of deep dive. This has been a great conversation. So thank you, Janette. Okay, ladies, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations.